नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की। गंगा मैया की, जमुना मैया की, भक्ति देवी की, तुलसी देवी की, कलयुग पावन श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की, Srila Prabhupada Transcendental Book Distribution ki, Nithai God Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य सूत्र सृष्टि His divine grace Abhay Charana Aravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai all blessed assembled devotees, all blessed assembled devotees, all blessed assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text number 29. Sa eva godhanam Lakshmyaha Niketam Sitagovrisham Charayan Anugan Gopan Ranat Venu Ariramat Saeva Godhanam Lakshmya Niketam Sita Govrisham Charayan Anugan Gopan Ranad Venu Ariramat Saeva Godhanam Lakshmya Niketam Sita Govrisham Charayan Anugan Gopan Ranadvenur Ariramat Sa eva Godhanam Lakshmya Niketam Sita Govrisham Charayan Anugan Gopan Ranadvenurari Ramat Eva Godhanam Lakshmya Krishna Seva Gokaran Lakshmya Go Vrisham Charayananogan Gopan Ranadveno Rariramat Saeva Godhanam Lakshmya Titaitam Saita Govrisham Charayananogan Gopan Ranadveno Rariramat. Ladies, Saeva Godhanam Lakshmya Sitetam Saiva Govrisham Charayan Anugan Gopan Aganar Venur Ariramat. Sa, he, Lord Krishna, Eva, certainly, Godhanam, the treasure of cows, Lakshmya, by opulence, Nikitam, reservoir, Sita Govrisham, beautiful cows and bulls, Charayan, herding, Anugan, the followers, Gopan, covered boys, Ranat, blowing, Venu, flute, Ariramat, enlivened. Translation purported by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. While herding the beautiful bulls, the Lord, who was the reservoir of all opulence and fortune, used to blow his flute, and thus he enlivened his faithful followers, the covered boys. Purport. As he grew to 6 and 7 years old, the Lord was given charge of looking after the cows and bulls in the grazing grounds. He was the son of a well-to-do landowner who owned hundreds and thousands of cows. And according to Vedic economics, one is considered to be a rich man by the strength of his store of grains and cows. With only these two things, cows and grain, humanity can solve its eating problem. Human society needs only sufficient grain and sufficient cows to solve its economic problems. All other things but these two are artificial necessities created by man to kill his valuable life at the human level and waste his time in things which are not needed. Lord Krishna, as a teacher of human society, personally showed by his acts that the mercantile community, or the Vaishyas, should herd cows and bulls and thus give protection to the valuable animals. According to Smriti regulation, the cow is the mother and the bull is the father of human being. The cow is the mother because she, just as one sucks the breast of one's mother, human society takes cow's milk. Similarly, the bull is the father of human society because the father earns for the children just as the bull tills the ground to produce food grains. Human society will kill its spirit of life by killing the father and the mother. It is mentioned herein that the beautiful cows and bulls were decorated by various checkered colors, black, red, black, green, yellow, ash, etc. And because of their colors and healthy smiling features, the atmosphere was enlivening. Over and above all, the Lord used to play his celebrated flute. The sound vibrated by his flute would give his friends such transcendental pleasure that they would forget all the talks of the Brahmananda, which is so praised by the impersonalists. These coward boys, as will be explained by Sukadeva Goswami, were living entities who had accumulated heaps of pious acts and thus were enjoying with the Lord in person and were hearing his transcendental flute. The Brahma Samhita confirms the Lord's blowing of his flute. Venum kvanantam aravinda dalayataksham barhavatam samasitam buddha sundarangam kandarpa koti kamaniya vishesha shobham govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Brahmaji said, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who plays on his transcendental flute. His eyes are like lotus flowers. He is decorated with peacock plumes, and his bodily color resembles a fresh black cloud, although his bodily features are more beautiful than millions of cupids. These are the special features of the Lord. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Shahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the chapter entitled is Remembrance of Lord Krishna. And of course, who's remembering them? Two great, very special devotees of Krishna sitting on the most appropriate environment of Shri Vrindavan Dham on the bank of the Jamuna. The bank of the Jamuna is especially conducive towards Krishna Smaranam. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. We sing every day this song. So a lot of Krishna's holy pastimes are conducted on the bank of the holy rivers. Mahaprabhu is Janavi Tatavane. He conducted pastimes at the bank of the Ganga. And Krishna is Yamuna Tatavane of the forest, and maybe Ram is Sarayu Tatavane. So the Lord is always attracted to all these holy rivers, performs his pastimes in the vicinity of these pastimes. So it is very stimulating for us to know that how these great souls who have met, as we say, accidentally, but like Maharaj says, even accidents are not accidental. So even accidents takes place by some orchestration of karmic situation. So by Krishna has ordained that these two great souls have met and they are completely absorbed. This chapter of third chapter is special to the devotees. this particular chapter of Krishna, because Krishna's pastimes actually feature in depth and detail in the 10th canto, right? But in one sense, Sukadeva Goswami cannot wait till 10th canto to talk about him. Because ultimately the goal is to lead us towards the 10 cantos are simply, 9 cantos are simply there to prepare our consciousness with eagerness and enthusiasm to listen to Krishna's personal pastimes as a Leela Purushottam or Purna Purushottam Bhagavan. And therefore a jhalak, a trailer, a promo is given in the 3rd canto, which whets our appetite for what is in store to come in the 10th canto. And therefore he is touching various Krishna's birth, Krishna's pastime with the cows, Krishna's killing the Kamsa, Krishna's killing Putana, right? He is touching various pastimes, not necessarily chronologically, but he is touching them. And therefore it makes, this chapter becomes even more sweeter because it is directly connected with Krishna. But of course, we are reading the 10th canto, the 3rd canto, and there is a little bit of deeper understanding required as to how to appreciate Krishna's pastimes with greater sense of maturity. For Vidurji and Uddhav, who are talking about Krishna, and they have already reached a very mature stage of Shuddha Bhakti, and therefore they can dive in directly into sort of Krishna's personal pastimes. For students of Bhagavatam like you and me, we need to have a little bit of a gradation of understanding of how we can approach Krishna's pastimes, Krishna Leela. There are different ways in which people will view Krishna Leela. Everything is based on perception, right? So for the Mayavadis, Krishna Leela is there, but it is just a means like a ladder to reach the top. It has got no eternal significance with my relationship with the Lord. And therefore it is just a stopgap arrangement. So he sees it in a very, very superficial way. For some people, Krishna Leela, which so many reciters are there outside who are reciting Krishna Leela, it is something which is like a pious activity. Punya kamane ke liye. It's for punya. They sit and listen. It's very nice. For some it is traditional. Hamare ghar pe, it always happens. Some of our Marwadi community and all. For them, they may call some, well-known Bhagavad speaker at their house on a big event, and maybe 500,000 people will come and gather, family members, extended family members, business contacts, everybody comes and listens, right? And there are 7 days they do their share of hearing, and they think that they have become now pious. However, as devotees, as Vaishnavas, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, our approach to Bhagavatam is not superficial. And it is not even definitely a pious activity. For devotees, when they hear Hari-katha, for many people it may be even entertainment, because it is very nice. Rather than hearing some filmy stuff, right, some crap about all these fellows, right? But then this is Bhagwan ke bare mein, right? So it's very entertaining. But for devotees it is neither entertaining, it cannot be not entertaining, of course, I don't want to mean otherwise, it can be entertaining, but the intent is not to get entertained. That may be a side product, byproduct if at all. It is primarily for two purposes. One is to get purified, and second is to take actual shelter. To take actual shelter. And therefore, one of the primary means of shelter is Hari-katha. In Sri Navadvip Dham, when the Bhattacharyas, Mishras and Chakravartis were there, now they were apparently pious people, very learned people, very scholarly people, very much steeped into Shastra, right? However, for they would, even with all their opulence and all their knowledge of so much of Nyaya and Jnana and logic and everything else they knew, very, very highly placed tolas they had. Tola means, they call it schools and colleges they had. But there's a very small pocket of people in Navadvip who were devotees, a very small minority, headed by Sri Advaita Acharya, Srivas Thakur. Then of course Vishwarup would be there before taking sannyas. So just a handful of people, and they would be looked down upon. And look at these fellows, Look at how we are enjoying. And these guys, all they do in their life is only two things: Hari Nam and Hari-katha. How can anybody be happy with this two things? There's no wine, women, kuch nahi. What is this? So, for the devotees, it is a means of shelter. And that should be understood very clearly, that the Lord comes to this world and his activities is called as Hari-katha. When Hari comes to this world, it is Hari-katha. If he had not come to this world, we would not know anything about him. Because he comes here, he performs pastimes, then you get to know so many things about him. And that becomes a talk which people want to talk about and remember. So, because what is the psychological component of this understanding? Because human beings have to talk. There are very few of us who can practice Mauni Babas, who don't talk. There are some people like that in the Himalayas and other holy places who will talk nothing. They will talk only with chalk and slate, whatever they have to say. But we have need to talk. But in the absence of talking about the Lord, we'll talk about worldly matters. Right? And what we talk and what we hear has a deep influence on our consciousness. Right? It's very important. You can see the people whom we are in touch with what type of people, we're in touch with different type of people, they talk differently and you hear differently. So that has an impact on you. When you have devotees, what they talk, what they hear is different, right? So your association with people is primarily impacting what you talk and hear when you're with each other, right? And since they are powerful psychological impactors, which ultimately affects our consciousness, right? Therefore, Hari-katha, in the association of Hari Bhaktas, is one of the most powerful means of affecting our consciousness in a very, very positive manner. Right? Therefore, when these two great Mahatmas are meeting, after some formalities about how is she and how is he and how is they and how is all that, when that is over, those courtesies are over, niceties are over, immediately dive into the topic. No going around here and there and said, how is Krishna doing and how are the Pandavas doing? And then it starts about talking about Krishna's pastime in Dwarka and like that. Therefore, therefore, when devotees meet, after niceties are done, they would want to talk about Krishna. In fact, I remember that we were young devotees. If ever we got a chance to be with Radhanath Maharaj in the car, in the same vehicle, because he would go for programs every evening to somebody's house, right? And sometimes we were young students, so we could squeeze in. If the host was merciful towards us, and even if you're not invited, you would still sneak into the same car with Radhanath Maharaj, and you would not be seen in the bad eye. Why have you come? So they were a little merciful to us because we were young. So, and then in those same vehicles, sometimes there would be Prabhupada's disciples going with Maharaj also. And so we are like a small mosquito in the midst of this giant elephant-like devotees, and like sitting in one corner and you're not talking anything, you're just softly chanting. And Maharaj would say, so if anyone wants to come in the car, they are welcome. But the only condition is that they have to speak a pastime of Krishna. So, even if Prabhupada, his own godbrothers, he would encourage them to speak on. So even as young budding devotees, we were influenced by that environment of how we were brought up, that even the greatest Mahatmas in our society, their primary joy is talking about Krishna. There is nothing more enjoyable in this world than talking about Krishna. The tongue has two activities, eating and talking. Of course, we tend to gravitate towards more the eating part. we gravitate towards eating more of prasadam and using the tongue in that manner. But as we graduate and become more mature, hopefully we will use the tongue more to talk about Krishna. Right? And that is the way actually a devotee judges his own progress. Our progress is not external. It is external in one sense. Okay, now you have been given some position of now you are a temple president or you are a secretary general for this area and all that. That is nice. That shows that we are performing well and the organization is stepping you up for more responsibility. So that is in one sense signs of our progress also, and that is necessary on behalf of the mission. But for our own self-analysis, how much is our, as Maharaj says, eagerness to hear and talk about Krishna? Right? That is a very subtle but yet a very sensitive index. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. It's a very sensitive and important parameter, Hari Bol, of how actually we can judge our own progress. Oftentimes, Maharaj sometimes says like that when you're sitting in the class and speaking, then you find some of the people's eyelids are half-mast. Right? Half-mast. So half open, and this is like yogis, looking at the nasika. So half-mast. So he said, actually we should be jumping in ecstasy when you hear these pastimes. But till we can't jump in ecstasy, at least be awake, Maharaj said. At least be awake. So that's our Durdasha. Our Durdasha is that we get attracted towards gossip. Our disease of the heart is that we attract towards gossip. Anything gossip, you will never find, I challenge you, that somebody is sleeping during gossip. It never happens, right? If gossip is going on, you're wide awake. You're wide awake, absolutely, right? Even if it is midnight and you're early sleeper, still you will be wide awake at 12 midnight and hearing gossip. That's our disease. So here is a beautiful scenery being depicted here. Braja Jana Ranjana. We sing every day. Braja Jana Ranjana. Right? Braja means Braja, Vrindavan. Jana, Brijvasis, or Janas, staying in Vrindavan. Ranjana, they are pleased by the Lord. Right? The Lord pleases them. And here, how does he do it? So here, one of his principal ways in which Krishna nourishes the loving exchange between himself and his janas. His janas doesn't mean just coward boys and coward girls. They are not just a jana. The jana includes the parrots, the cows, the monkeys, the bulls, especially is mentioned here. So all of the residents of Vrindavan are Braja Janas, right? And one way in which Krishna is nourishing them is by playing his transcendental flute. Right? Therefore, we will rarely find Krishna's form in any temple not holding the flute. Right? We are accustomed to seeing Krishna like that, but when you think about it, Krishna means there has to be two things, or maybe three things. His Tribhanga form, you will not find Krishna like Lord Ramchandra like this. Rarely find Krishna doing like this. He's always Tribhanga Sham. Then he is Tribhanga, he has his celebrated flute, and he has the peacock feather. These three things are hallmarks of Krishna, and that makes him very, very, very beautiful. Right? That threefold bending form makes him even so much more beautiful. And how would Krishna appear if there was no peacock feather? Right? In fact, devotees will immediately, if some pujari is forgotten to put the peacock feather, they will say, "Hey, Prabhuji, you forgot peacock feather." They may forgot to put a bracelet, nobody will notice that, or they forgot to put a payal, they may or may not notice. But if you forget the borpang, because that is Krishna's signature. Like we said, signature, Krishna's signature is three things: threefold bending form, his flute, and his peacock feather. Right? And therefore here, Krishna is, we can actually, when we sing the Jai Radha Madhav song, Prabhupada say that the whole Vrindavan is here. So that picture actually is depicted in this purport. That is picture is in the purport. How? And some of the best paintings which we have are depicting this pastime of Krishna with the covered boys. Right? We had a great Vaishnava in our temple earlier. His name was Abhiram Gopal Thakur Prabhu. Right? And these paintings which we have, he would just sit in front of these paintings and meditate. He just sit in front of temples and his heart would be drawn. So either when this pastime is depicted either in speech or in reading or in paint, the Hari-katha can come in so many ways. Then hearts are drawn towards these pastimes. And some of our acharyas have meditated so deeply on these pastimes. Right? They are not ordinary pastimes. And probably the greatest amount of literature output of somebody has gone deep into Bhagavad pastimes singularly, among others, is Srimad Jiva Goswami, whose disappearance day is there today. Right? So, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas believe and understand with such special recognition that the basis of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, theology and philosophy, is attributed to the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. Nana Shastra Charanika Nipunam Shradhanva Samsthapakam. It's true. And among the six Goswamis, Jiva Goswami stands out as even more prominent in this regard. Right? Because he is the primary proponent of Gaudiya Tattva in such philosophical depths and has practically the basis and foundation for our entire sampradaya. Having composed nothing less than 400,000 verses, that's a mammoth of a service, right? He left this world in 1598, lived a good amount of life. But there's some important components of his life which is worth reminiscing today on his auspicious day. It is all very purifying to speak and hear about our acharyas. Because whatever, also and done, whatever we are, wherever we are today, whatever practicing of Krishna consciousness which we have, we can never forget that it is a legacy which we have been passed down from the acharyas, which is somehow fallen into our lap, and we are practicing some Krishna consciousness now. Weren't for them, we'll be leading usual wasteful, futile lives. So his introduction to Krishna consciousness is very interesting. This is happening at Ramakeli, right? It's a very special place which those of us who have been to Ramakeli will remember. So Uruva and Sanatan are now still in the service of Nabos and Shah. They are still Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik, right? But Mahaprabhu, on the pretext of first attempted visit to Vrindavan, is followed by thousands of people, and then suddenly takes a route which goes towards Ramakeli, right? And therefore, he did this specifically to recruit practically his first members in the team of devotees he wanted to create to flood the world with Krishna consciousness. And therefore at Ramakeli, which is the headquarters of the capital of Nawab Hussain Shah. So they come in, there's a bit of exchange how they were writing letters to him, and then Mahaprabhu said he should be just like a wife has a paramour, do your work properly, but eventually husband should not suspect. All this pastimes took place, but ultimately they meet incognito in the night when Mahaprabhu is staying in a particular place, and they go and meet him, and first Nityananda Prabhu, then Thakur Haridas, they both usher Rupa and Sanatan, Rupa Sanatan still, into the presence and audience of Mahaprabhu. And the exchange of humility, the impeccable humility and the Dainya Bhav which was exhibited by Rupa and Sanatan at that time is, as Mahaprabhu said himself, it is melting my heart. We can scarcely believe it, even talk about it, because even speaking about it would be, we cannot even talk about it properly. Such depth was there. How would somebody sing themselves to be more fallen than Jaga and Madai? How is it possible? When they know Persian, Sanskrit, Bengali language, they are statesmen, they are diplomats, they are as rich as any billionaire can ever imagine, more richer than what any billionaire has wealth today, living such opulent lives, and yet the Dainya Bhav was so deep that Mahaprabhu said, it is breaking my heart. So when Mahaprabhu, when they are interacting, and they are of course wearing this cloth around their neck and a straw in their teeth, and they're falling flat, Dandavat Pranams, Mahaprabhu was offering so much of love that you are my eternal associates. You are my eternal associates, right? And today I crown you with these beautiful names, Rupa and Sanatan. Anupam also was there. So Jiva Goswami, the young Jiva, is the son of Rupa Goswami, is the son of Anupam, right? So all the three brothers are there to meet Mahaprabhu. And simply as a young child, it is believed that Jiva Goswami was born in Ramakeli, which is quite natural because the three brothers stayed in Ramakeli, so he was born there. So from a little distance, Jiva is just looking at this exchange. And how we say young children are impressionable, right? Now he may not understand at age the philosophical exchange is taking place between Mahaprabhu but simply that exchange, right? Like when Radha Maharaj was looking, sitting in the room, and he saw Srila Prabhupada interacting with his dear brother Akindas Babaji Maharaj. And they were speaking in Bengali, right? And Maharaj, of course, did not understand. But that exchange was so powerful between two great Mahatmas interacting, their love, their respect for each other, their etiquettes they were having, right? And the content of their talk was so much that even as a young brahmachari, Maharaj saw this is something which I should emulate. This is worth understanding. The relation between two great Vaishnavas is so special. So even if you don't understand the language, but impact can be there. So Jiva was impacted in that way, right? And from then on, he became an ardent follower and attracted powerfully to Rupa Sanatan Goswami and Mahaprabhu Chaitanya. And being a son of Anupam Mallik, he was given deities of Krishna Balaram. So his heart was always attracted to, and he would get various dreams, and in one particular dream and vision which he had in the night, he saw Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, right, in the dream, performing their pastimes, having nice kirtan going on in the background, thousands of people are following him, and then he sees that Mahaprabhu transformed into Krishna, Nityananda Prabhu transformed into Balaram, right, and again, they again go back into that same form. So then, in his heart, he would understand that, so the divinity of Mahaprabhu was revealed to Jiva Goswami even as a young child. He was fully aware about their eternal nature as the Supreme Lords themselves. right? And he would play with these deities, and as he grew up, he was sent to the tutelage of Madhusudan Vachaspati, right? Where he learned all his skills in Sanskrit grammar, in logic, and became one of the greatest philosophers of his time. We attribute humility as a quality especially to Sanatana Goswami. Among the four acharyas we have. So humility means we learn from Sanatana Goswami. And yet the Goswamis, all of them, depicted such exemplary levels of humility. And that example is coming prominently also in the life of Sripad Jiva Goswami. So we have this, there are two examples, we'll take at least one of them. So when this great, very proud scholar, logician comes, his name is Rup Narayan, right? So, like Maharaj says, nowadays we have cricket. Cricket is the game which everyone praises and follows and practically worships. So the great game at the time was an intellectual game of debate, right? So this debater is there. He goes all on the places and taking Vijay Patra from everybody. I have lost to Rup Narayan. So he was just happy collecting those certificates. Wherever he would go, he would defeat people in logic and carry this. So that was his victory. So his victory march took him to Bengal, and then he came in connection with Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, and they said, I want to debate with you. I said, come on, what do you want? So, if you don't want to debate with me, you have to tell that you are defeated by me. I said, okay, where do I sign? So they signed and gave her the paper. So he was very happy. He said, I have won. So then they showed us the Jiva Goswami said, your uncles have lost to me. So this made him agitated in one sense. He said, transcendental agitation. He said, you dare think that you could defeat my uncles in debate? You know, what nonsense, come on, let's... So they start debating, right? And they have a 7 days debate. 7 days. He must be a powerful logician, obviously. It took 7 days, and after 7 days, it was very clear, crystal clear to all the audience that he was completely defeated. Right? He had nothing more to say. And then Jiva Goswami goes to his Rupa Sanatana Goswami and said, I have defeated them. I defeated him. Right? I couldn't, when he said that he's defeated you, I couldn't handle this. But Rupa Goswami says, why did you waste your time? Such a waste of time talking to a mundane logician who's after name, fame and money. It's waste of time, right? There appears to me that in your heart there is a level of pride. So anybody living in, and this has happened in Vrindavan, not in Bengal. Anyone living in Vrindavan is disqualified if he has any element of pride. So you should leave. So without offering any arguments or any justification or any clarification, put his head down, just walked off. Right? And he went to Mathura. And after many days, Sanatana Goswami realized and said, actually there is enough of repentance there. So he told Rupa Goswami that there is a very important principle of Mahaprabhu which you are probably missing out. You know? So he said, which principle? The principle of Jiva. Right? You're missing out on that. Rupa Goswami understood, yes. He's talking about Jiva Goswami. So Sanatana Goswami brought him back. So how in our Sampradaya, so Rupa Goswami did this primarily, of course, to show that how even the smallest amount of pride is a disqualification in Krishna consciousness. And especially wanted to glorify the humility of Jiva Goswami, that how humble he was. So the combination of having such scholarship and being humble is such a rare combination. To somebody has nothing with him, to be humble, you are nothing, you are nobody, right? So you better be humble, right? What else is there to be proud about? But if you are one of the top scholars of the country, who can debate with even the other top people, right? And yet, with that prakhar knowledge, and yet to be humble is a very rare feat of advanced Krishna consciousness. Advanced Krishna consciousness. He was able to, he was a great, of course, as we said, He wrote literatures, he wrote these Sadasandarbhas, more than 25 books at his credit. But during his regime, during his stay, two things. One is that he was able to, now we must remember that the times that we're talking about is of the Mughal times, right? But even being a Pakka Gaudiya Vaishnava, his ability to influence leaders of a diverse community who are otherwise not at all favorable towards so-called Hinduism or Vaishnavism, and yet to influence them positively. So the day when the day when Akbar came actually to Vrindavan, and he met Jiva Goswami, right? One of his Todarmal, one of his ministers, asked him to, he said, you should meet this person, right? So Todarmal was a sort of spiritual advisor to Akbar. So when this great, the king, the emperor could meet Jiva Goswami, he said, his humility, his sharp intellect, right, and his demeanor and his extensive knowledge, they impressed the Badshah, right? And because of that, he gave permission to develop Vrindavan into a great place of pilgrimage. So all the temples which we see, right, beginning with Radha Govindaji Mandir, the Radha Gopinath Mandir, right, Radha Damodar Mandir, they were all built even in the presence of the Mughal emperors because of the goodwill which was created by Jiva Goswami. And therefore it is important that he is able to influence even a otherwise adverse religious leader because of his mature Krishna consciousness. I was able to play that very diplomatically, very strategically, and allowed Vrindavan to flourish into. So during that time when the Sikh Goswamis were there, our Gaudiya Vaishnavism has flourished to such a great degree, right? Such a great degree. Of course, later on, again it was destroyed by the descendants of the other Mughals. But he was a great strategist, right? And because he knew the art of dealing with people, so even the Radha Kund was excavated by him. So he would be the one who make the deals, get the papers. We think of Goswamis only as writing letters and singing Hare Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna. They also were dealing with all the complexities of the times, and taking permissions and getting to people and having negotiations and talks and talking to various people who build and all that. So all this was, expertise was Jiva Goswami. Very, very expert, very, very expert. So in so many ways, the legacy of Jiva Goswami is something which we need to really worship in our minds and hearts. The greatest scholar ever born is Jiva Goswami. The greatest philosopher ever born. This is how the Gaudiya Vaishnavas treat him. And he is a person whom we pride in. We pride not in ourselves, but we pride in our acharyas. If that's what we want to do, then the person who we can pride today with great joy is Jiva Goswami. A whole library of books written by him in Banaras University is there, right? And of course, when you go to Vrindavan, we never not go to Radha Damodar Mandir, right? Because it's connected with two things. One is it is a home of Jiva Goswami, his worshipful deity is Radha Damodar, and our dear Srila Prabhupada has stayed there, right? So Prabhupada staying at Radha Damodar Mandir is even further highlights the importance of Jiva Goswami's temple. Prabhupada stayed there, Jiva Goswami's Samadhi, Ripa Goswami's Samadhi, Bhajan Kutir, etc. The place where our Srila Prabhupada imbibed his deepest inspiration, his strength, and his vision, and his confidence in doing what he did. That came because he actually stayed. So that environment had a big impact on Prabhupada. Prabhupada was Prabhupada. He was pure. Wherever he would have been there, he would have done great things. But yet, he knew that going to environment of Radha Damodar Mandir would be especially important for me. So when he got this offer from Gora Chandji, who was a proprietor at the time of the temple, he immediately accepted for 5 rupees rent and he started staying there. Got it repaired and started staying there. Because that environment had a huge impact on Prabhupada in giving them the strength he needed to do a world mission. So Jiva Goswami is in that sense even directly connected with Prabhupada to empower him to do what he has done. It is also the disappearance day of Jagdish Pandit. Born in a place called as Guptipur in Bengal, West Bengal. And Jagdish Pandit is famous for one particular pastime with Nimai as a young child, right? So it's the day of Ekadashi. And Nimai starts crying. First he is crying, then he's crying loudly, then he's screaming, then he's yelling, right? What happened? What do you want? He said, I want the offering at the house of Jagdish Pandit. It is the day of Ekadashi, right? So how would a small child living here at Sachimata's house in Navadvip, and he is staying very far inside Navadvip, how would he ever know that some offering is happening at the house of Jagdish Pandit? But he could not quite him in any way. So then they sent people actually to go there and see. And when the offering was made to the lordships and brought here to Nimai, and Nimai had that on Ekadashi, he became quiet. So Jagdish Pandit is considered as one of the great associates. He is especially famous for his deep knowledge and his very special devotion. And he was a great preacher of Krishna consciousness. Very great preacher. And there is still a temple which is dedicated towards him in Guptipur in Bengal. And his ability to influence people in the community in a very large way. So he is also one of the revered associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in this way, when we say Hari-katha, Krishna-katha, it is not only about Hari. It is also about Hari Bhaktas, right? And therefore there is unlimited scope for Hari-katha. Even if you say, okay, we discussed all the 10th canto, we have finished reading, talking and all, then there are so many devotees. How many devotees of Krishna are there? There are unlimited devotees of Krishna, right? So one lifetime is not enough for Hari-katha, correct? So that's what we ultimately aspire for. Vasudeva Katha Ruchi. And that comes by what? Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipara Punatirtha Nishevanat. Right? So that very esoteric gain we want to have, that taste for hearing and talking about Krishna and his pastimes, the devotees' pastimes. And we require what? We need to develop this attitude of serving the Vaishnavas. Right? And that is such a special activity, serving Vaishnavas, and that immediately draws Krishna's attention towards us. If there's any way you can attract Krishna fastest towards us to become sort of qualified for his grace, there's only one activity. Only one activity. Please and serve his dear devotees. Krishna's heart just melts in grace. Oh, you're serving my devotees. Right? And then he will give you whatever you lack. Whatever you have, he will preserve. Whatever you lack, he will give. So today we want to pray on this great day, Jiva Goswami's disappearance day, that we have developed this ever-increasing desire and eagerness to hear Hari-katha by developing the attitude of seva bhav towards Krishna and his dear devotees, serving them with humility, with sensitivity, with genuine devotion, with a desire to please the object of our seva. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sripad Jiva Goswami ki jai. Hare Krishna.